Hey, Sai.
Okay, well, it's 9 a.m. I think it's time to go ahead and get started. So I'd like to say welcome, everyone, to this week's Geek Weekly meetup. The goal of Geek Weekly and Science Space is to connect people who share interests in all things geeky and to build a community around that here in localhost. Feel free to join in the discussion in voice as well as in chat. And if you'd like to be involved here in the community, feel free to chat with me after the meeting. We also have a website where we post the Geek Weekly review, post a calendar, and link to our Discord server, and that's localhostconnection.com. As things grow here, we will also expand our website with additional information and functionality. The agenda for... Oh, I heard myself.
Sorry.
So the agenda for today's meetup includes introductions, discussion of some interesting news articles, state of the viewer, some geek trivia, show and tell, future events, and some general conversation. And then I think we're going to take a field trip over to the Great Northern Railroad. Post that in chat.
Good morning, everybody. I'm actually looking forward to that railroad. I saw the post on Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
I think, who was it that decorated that? I think it was Arctic Rose. And she did the same thing. She decorated it all from enrolled things. So, hey, welcome back, Chef.
So, hello, everyone. And we'll go ahead and start off with some introductions. I can say in voice or chat whatever you're comfortable sharing with us. We'll go with science-based name, geographical location, like where you're from, and some of what your geeky interests are. So I'm Karsten Stark, and I'm up in usually rainy Washington State, but right now it's actually pretty sunny outside. And let's see, something I'm interested in geek. Well, I love all sorts of geeky things. I love programming and sci-fi especially. So, and then what about you, Artemis?
Uh, my name is Artemis. Thanks. I'm up here in Washington too, and I'm kind of a new transplant. I'm actually from Las Vegas, so it's a little bit of a difference because we actually have green on the landscape. Not everything is dead. Um, and I would say that I don't know, I've been in virtual worlds since, I don't know, maybe 2002 or so, and I've been in science. And I'm into everything sci-fi fantasy.
Okay, I'll go next since I'm next in the counterclockwise order. I'm Sidearm. I am interested in online presence, and virtual platforms are a really exotic way to be online present. I'm interested in science fiction. I am currently just started rereading Starship Troopers by Robert A. Heinlein, which is a classic. The book is, if you've seen the movie's pretty amazing and relatively true to the book. The book is even more awesome and detailed, and I recommend it highly. I would like to proudly announce that I am now up on 10 servers in Discord, including one I just created for myself that I'm trying to make a logo for. So that's my update and intro.
Yeah, I guess I'm next. I'm Rosanna. I live here in Indiana. It's sunny out. Yesterday was very hot and humid, but it got relief with some rain. I enjoy science fiction. I enjoy reading when I get a chance. I'm usually pretty busy in real life, and I just enjoy listening to people and socializing, and that's pretty much me. Okay.
Hello? Can anyone hear me?
Hello. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So yeah, my username is Chevron7, and I'm in Toledo, Ohio, and I came here basically to escape the isolation from all of the quarantine stuff, and my interests are, well, they were, I was trying to do some creative writing a little while ago, but like it's been hard to do that without my writing group. So I've kind of let that fall to the side for now. But yeah, I'm just. And then other things are obviously Stargate fan. The Chevron 7 is the one that opens the Stargate. So if anyone didn't know that yet, and yeah, and then other sci-fi fantasy stuff like that, other interests.
That's really cool, Chev. Have you ever done the NaNoWriMo in November?
Like I've
Where
heard of
you,
that, and my writers group was talking about that, and but I didn't actually do that this year. So
yeah, I haven't done it for a while, but that I've always wanted to do the book club, but I hadn't thought of the writing. Maybe that would be kind of neat to get a writing group together in here if we could, just for motivation.
yeah,
Sometimes it's hard. There's so many things to do, it's hard to just sit down and write.
yeah, that's the time it takes is the main drawback of it is it just takes so much time.
Can I interject a random thought that this discussion just generated? I am going to an open mic group once a week in Second Life, and the reason I'm continuing to go is because people have written poetry and stuff, and you can either read your own work or give it to the host, who's very good at reading poetry. And then I've also had a chance there to share music that I've composed and put on YouTube. And it's really neat because you talked about a writers group there, Artemis. It's really neat to get together with other creative people, which is what we're doing here. And I think maybe that group, that open mic group, is going to start to evolve. Like the first time I went, people were very shy. They would just give the host a note card to read with a poem by Yeats on it or something. And now they're starting to give him note cards with stuff they wrote. And now some of them are even reading their own poetry. So I think it's really cool to watch how a group evolves of creative people sharing what they're doing and moving up to what they've done in the past to what they're working on right now.
That sounds really cool. I love this, just sitting there listening to all the people read their, or sometimes they send a chapter for do they do that kind of a thing where they will have a chapter shared by everyone for critiquing?
Now it happens. I was just attempting to get into Second Life over the weekend, and I didn't get very far yet. But I'd be interested in this group that you were talking about.
Oh, I thought that's where you came from.
No. I was a while ago. I looked at virtual worlds, and of course, Second Life is the big name. And then I watched some videos on it. It looked really difficult to figure out, and so I looked for alternatives and found Science Space.
Yeah.
But then now, from my experience here, I feel like maybe I want to try and figure out Second Life as well.
Yeah, and don't feel like you need to choose one world. I still have an avatar, and actually both of us, me and Carson, both have avatars in Second Life, and we were renting a house there for a while. You just kind of find yourself moving around because all the worlds are pretty interesting, and you find yourself more of an explorer than having to choose one world.
I'm going to recommend, I don't know how far you got, Chevron. This is the easiest, best community gateway I know of. I just pasted the link. It's called Virtual Ability. And if you've already downloaded the viewer, it'll walk you through the whole thing. Download the viewer, set up a name, and then it drops you right into their new resident orientation center, so you can figure out all the buttons, and then from there you can take off. If you get in there, did he just disappear? Oh, there he is.
Yeah.
If you get in there,
I just lost connection for a second. I don't know. Something is wrong with my internet modem, I think. Sorry about that.
Anyway, do that and ping me. I'm sidearm everywhere, and I'll take you to the open mic group.
Right.
It'll be cool.
So, virtual ability. Okay, I'll look for that.
Talking about other worlds, I don't have this in my notes, but last night Artemis and I were. I think someone mentioned something about this new core virtual world thing on Discord, and so we were kind of taking a look at that last night, and we might hop in there and see what it's like.
I feel like core is where all the younger people are, because if you're wondering where all the 20 and 30-year-olds are, and they were doing the FPS here in Science Space, but I feel like core is definitely appealing to the younger crowd. And I wondered, what makes that true? What makes this audience older, and what makes core younger? But maybe that's what they want, or more of the what was the game that we said it looked like? You were saying
it was a lot like Fortnite.
Yeah, Fortnite, which I'm not into, but a lot of people are. But it still looked like a fun field trip. I like the idea that you can go in there and there's all these tools to build with, and you don't need to know I'm assuming you don't need to know Unreal, right?
Well, I don't know. That's what I want to find out because they're marketing as you don't need to have any experience. You can come in and create, blah, blah, blah. But then I was watching a video real quick last night, and it looked just as complicated as building something in Unity. And of course, it had a more modern interface, but yeah. So I don't. I want to check it out and see what it's all about.
Yeah, I remember looking and thinking how cool it was that they had some kind of a building kit. It looked like they had a lot of kits where it might be just as hard to go in, but then the company provides the kits and the assets and everything and sets it up more for you, more of a hand-holding thing. But yeah, I'd be really interested to check that out.
Alicia's here.
Welcome, Alicia.
Oh,
Hey,
So
Alicia.
we were just going around the room with introductions, saying in voice or chat what you're comfortable sharing with us, including your name, your kind of location, general location, and some of your geeky interests, what they might be. So myself and Artemis were up in Washington, Sidearms in Texas, Sana's in Indiana, Chevron was
Toledo.
Toledo, and yeah, we're all kind of just a mixture of sci-fi, fantasy, and specific things. On that.
How do you spell core? Could you type that in chat so I can see that?
Let me see if I can find the URL because it was really hard to find because core is such a generic name. Let's see. Okay, so it's coregames.com. I don't know that it's supposed to be necessarily a virtual world, but it sounds like you can do a virtual world. I don't know. It sounds like it's more just like a collection of small games, kind of like Roblox or something like that for a more mature audience.
It's like they push that you're able to do just like any virtual world that you're able to create any world that you want, but they push more of the create a game and then profit from your game somehow. I don't know how they're doing that. And the more popular your game is, the more money you can make. So it's not the same kind of an idea as the other virtual worlds. But they also do talk about creating worlds that are social, which I found interesting. I'm wondering how they're doing that.
Cool.
Are you still here, Inquisitive Loon? I don't see you in the region, but I thought I heard something.
I think he's dropping off and in with his computer problems. There's Alicia's intro. All right.
Awesome.
And I love the first time that you meet the characters from the movie because I got into Lord of the Rings Online from after the movies came out. It's like there's that movie star moment where you see all of these characters. And it's like, oh,
Yeah, so welcome everybody. And, so I think that's everybody that's in the region at the moment. So we'll move on to some interesting news. And the first article that we came across this week was kind of a clickbaity article, but had some interesting ideas in it. So went ahead and added it to the list. But it said the odds of life on newfound Earth-sized planet are 100%, an astronomer says. And, so here's the link.
oh yeah, that was interesting. Because it was different because I've never heard scientists, astronomers ever say that like 100%. And it's someone you could tell is really excited. And so maybe they're speaking unofficially, and but um, just how they're trying to tell you how this planet is in the habitable zone, and then all of these different factors, for them to be so excited to let that slip was kind of interesting. So this is definitely something I want to watch in the future.
Yeah, so it was, yeah, it's interesting. So there was like two researchers, and the one was like, yeah, 100%. There's definitely some life on this planet, and the other one was saying, yeah, it's pretty likely. He wasn't willing to say 100%, but it's. Oh, I'm being elbowed. Okay, so I just pasted in chat there a link to our little live stream going, so you can hear if you can't hear anything on voice in the world. Uh, so yeah, this habitable planet. What's interesting is it's tidally locked, and it's orbiting a very small star. So it's got this like habitable zone that's like a halo around the planet. So you have the sunny side of the planet and the dark side, and supposedly life. Because of that, it creates like a stable environment because nothing changes, and so they think it would actually develop life easier than something that's constantly moving. But it reminded me of, I don't know if anybody's familiar with the band Starset. They have this whole background for their music, like this whole storyline, and that was one of the things. Was there was a discovery of this planet with a habitable zone and a halo around the planet, and they all go out there and colonize. And yeah, so I don't know. It was pretty exciting for me to read about that. Yeah, so this planet is 20 light years away from us. It orbits a lot closer to its sun, but the sun is a lot smaller. There's other, I think there was a bunch of other planets in its system as well, but I think it kind of resembled a lot like what our system looks like.
Wasn't it some kind of a red dwarf or something where it was like super, it was a lot cooler than our moon, and so it was, I wish I could see what the sky looked like from the planet. It probably looked a lot more like the skies that you see in sci-fi movies where you have these huge planets up above you.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, it says it's yeah, it's a red dwarf, about 50 times dimmer than our sun, and it's only like 0.15 AU. from its sun, so quite a bit closer than we are. Sun.
Yeah, that would look really weird to look up in the sky and see your sun really large up there and feel like you're about to impact each other, you know?
Yeah, they were saying that the distance was it was in the habitable zone, away, distance from its star. So
I just put a link in. Oh, there's Ink's intro. Indianapolis. Well, that must be in Indiana.
awesome.
We were talking about exploring, and you remind me of this really cute cartoon on XKCD, if you click that link, about the Mars rover.
So talking about keeping your mind sharp, that kind of leads into the next article that we found, which was 6 ways to rewire your brain. There's a link to the article there. And I just love how number 1 on there is play video games. So that they also had learn a new language, make some music, which is something Sidearm does. Travel. It's always good to see new sights and get some external stimulation that way. Exercise and make art, so being creative.
I heard exercise with
Okay.
creation.
Okay, this is a cool article. Excuse me while I tweet the heck out of it. Kudos, guys. And then another thought trigger. One of the people I hang out with in Second Life has a whole region called, well, its official name is Inspiration Island, but the theme of it is whole brain health. And her target demographic is people 55 and up. And all the events and exhibits are about, well, what it's saying in there, brain plasticity and activities that keep you learning things completely different from what you ever knew before in your life. And all the research shows how that, for example, keeps you alert and healthy, reduces your odds of Alzheimer's. She recently called me a poster child because I'm doing the music stuff. And her husband is apparently a music professor, and neither of them can figure out what the hell I'm doing, but they think it's intriguing. So I'm taking that as a compliment. But, yep.
What does that even mean? What does that even mean, Sight, that they can't figure out what you're doing in regards to your music?
Well, what I'm learning is if it sounds cool, so I'm learning new ways to put videos of it. I'm working with a music visualizer now, and I'm trying to get Spiral to mess around with it too. I think I've got him hooked just enough finally. I made a short demo video of an animation, and now he's starting to perk up, But if they see just something that's kind of shimmying and hearing the music at the same time, I think the vision is distracting them enough from the relative weirdness of the music so that they kind of, somebody said, I couldn't stop watching it and I didn't want it to end. I thought, okay, that's the best feedback I ever got. But it wasn't
That's
until
really
I put
interesting.
yeah,
Now,
exactly.
can you put in the SL name of that sim because that sounds interesting to have that kind of an audience from them, a theme like that.
Sure, let me go get that while you keep guys going.
Thanks. It just reminds me there was a building in Las Vegas. It was for brain health, and I thought it was really interesting that they visually used a building that was designed to look like it was melting. It really messed with your head when you drove by.
Speaking of messing with your head, if you like quantum mechanics, uh, the next article was about how quantum entanglement gets hot and messy, and they found that you don't have to have like the super cooled states to maintain quantum entanglement between particles. They did this experiment where there's like a whole mess of particles in a containment thing, and they're all cranked up to high temperatures and running into each other and everything. And they were able to observe, I forget how much, a certain percentage of them that actually maintained their entanglement through the whole thing. So it's interesting to see where that might go, and if it will allow us to create, devices with, entangled particles that exist outside of having some kind of super cooled containment, and all that.
Yeah, I was thinking, or at least hoping anyways. I hope that means in the future when we have quantum computers that we're not going to have to liquid cool them and, worrying about all this, like how hot your computer is and frying all the different things in case.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking of, if we ever do reach out into the stars, communication is going to be important. And especially like right now, we have the Voyager probes way the heck out there, and I don't know what the current time is that it takes for a radio signal to reach them. But if we had quantum communication where the data was being transmitted through this quantum entangled particle, like it's instantaneous communication no matter where it is in the galaxy. So that's what's interesting to me. So if they can create something that'll survive, lift off from the planet, going into space and all that, we could be real time controlling rovers on Mars or whatever instead of waiting those 7 minutes or whatever it is. Yeah, that's interesting to me.
With all these new things coming out of the scientific community, I do feel like we're going to be on a different planet here. I don't know do you think it would be within our lifetime? They talk about sending people to Mars, but like honestly, do you think it's going to be in our lifetime?
We might see people go to Mars. I don't know. They're definitely pushing for it. That's kind of funny. I'm curious what everybody else here how they would answer this question. When Artemis and I first got together,
I know what you're going to ask.
Yeah, so we were talking about colonizing Mars, and the question was asked between us, if you could be one of the first colonists of Mars, would you do it? And I would like, well, yeah, if it was just me, if I was alone, like, hell yeah, I'd do it. The odds of surviving are pretty slim, but it would be an experience of a lifetime.
Yeah, no. I would wait and see. Like I think it's exciting, but I would want to go to Mars when they've got all their systems worked out and they've got an established, you know, wave traveling there safely and there's some back and forth trading and there's things to do besides sit in a small capsule and look out the window. Like I would want to have field trips and all that. I would love to visit Mars and have maybe an extended stay when everything is running flawlessly, and I'm not going to come back with cancer.
There's so many sci-fi things you could bring up about this. The first one is, well, I had a goal for a while. I wanted there to be a landing, a manned mission to Mars by 2025. So that may or may not happen. For a while there, I was kind of giving up on it. But Stranger in a Strange Land, which is Robert Heinlein's book, talks about colonists that went to Mars, and then Michael came back from Mars, and that was a whole amazing book. Another thing I like is people are now arguing, well, we should go to Mars. No, we should just go to the moon. No, we should go to Mars. No, we should just go to the moon. This has moved us forward, because in the old days it was we should go to the moon. No, we shouldn't. We should stay on Earth. So I like that. And then the other thing, if you're going to take a vacation on Mars, Artemis, what is that movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger in it?
Yeah, I all I remember, I don't remember. The name escapes me. I just remember the woman with 3 breasts. That is the same one, right?
I know what it is. Total Recall. That's it.
Yeah.
Here's me being me again, just knowing everything.
Yes, Total Recall. Have you guys seen the new Total Recall? I actually like that one pretty well, too.
I have actually not seen either of them, and I don't really want to. They look pretty weird.
I feel like if there's going to be humans and other planets, it's going to be a little bit like the Murderbot series, because I would expect if we're there and we're there for a lengthy amount of time that it's going to be all about mining. And then maybe from there, there's going to be small settlements, but of course, like made up of all the different planetary miners, Mars miners, lunar miners.
Yeah, we need some of that helium-3.
Yeah, and we can't shoot them into space like they do in Star Trek.
No,
Like populating planets with human DNA.
Now, don't we need a working fusion reactor before we can even use any of the helium-3, though? Like, we don't even have that yet. So, which would be awesome if we could do that.
Well, you know, if we get a power source that's what is it? The power of what was that? It was like the power of an entire planet, like Jupiter or something like that. If we can take that entire massive power source and shrink it down small enough to fit on a ship, then I think we have warp drive capability already, right? From what they've figured out, holding space. But
I don't know. I've heard of the the Alcubierre drive or something.
yes, that one.
I've heard of that, but it's not like it's just theoretical at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know how close it is to actually being built. Probably like not at all.
Did you guys see that there's a news article, this reminds me of it, is that they were talking about how there was some kind of a, what are they calling them? Structures. They're calling them structures, but they're not structures the way we think of structures. But something formed around this star, and they had this theory that they had gone through this list of all the things it could be, and so always at the very bottom when they go through this list of what things could be, they're like, well, could it be aliens? But there was an article talking about this one structure around the star and how they had theorized it could possibly be aliens, where they had harnessed the power of the sun, or no, of the star, because they're like, how did they even come at that theory? I didn't even know that was on the table when. I mean, of course, with the universe, everything being as large as it is, I do believe there's some kind of life out there. It's just the probability of it. There's something. Just if we'll run into it, I don't know if we'll ever do that.
Are you talking about Tabby's star?
I don't remember. It was this week. We were looking for news articles.
It sounds like that. Like there was a star, and then it was dimming in a certain way that they thought maybe someone was building a structure around it,
Yes,
like
that was
a
it.
Dyson sphere, and that was nicknamed Tabby's star. Is what it was
Okay.
nicknamed.
I thought it was a
Yeah.
little bit clickbaity, but I still think it's interesting all these different theories that pop out of that community. So
Yeah,
Have
so
any
I'm
of you
looking.
read any of the culture novels by Ian somebody? I remember it, but it's called The Culture. That's the name of it, and
no, what is
they
that?
use
What is that about?
Ian M. Banks. It's a far, far in the future world where the humans are an entire civilization and AIs have evolved, and they're no longer called AIs; they're called minds. And a mind is usually built into a ginormous spaceship, and people live inside them. Like a mind runs an orbital, like a ring world from come on, Ringworld. Who wrote Ringworld? Inadvertent trivia question.
Okay. I got this. That was Larry
Yep,
Niven.
you got it. And then there's
We can
all
always
these
depend on
other
you.
civilizations that they encounter, and it's like it's a meta. Like each civilization exists at a certain level, and the whole theory of Dyson spheres, like Chevron brought up, was that how do you use all the energy of a sun to support your civilization? And we on Earth are at the level, using solar panels and things. We built a ring world. Entire ring world could absorb the sun all year long, and if you built a Dyson sphere, it would absorb everything that comes out of the sun. Um, and it's just, and that's just like one mind-blowing idea. And the minds are extremely intelligent, and they're partners with humans, and it makes for wonderful plotline stories that I couldn't even begin to talk about. But there's a whole article on it in Wikipedia, and Player of Games is like recommended
It's
starter
really
books
refreshing
if
to
you get.
see the mind's AI evolving into something else that isn't going to take over humanity, like the Terminator and all these other Battlestar Galactica. And
Yep. So we had one more article that we took a look at, and that was this dark matter hunt yields unexplained signal. Ooh, mysterious. And this was something they did deep underground. I don't remember where that was. Anyway, Gran Sasso facility in Italy. Okay. So they're doing this search for dark matter, and they're picking up the expected signals that they thought they were going to get out of the sensor, but then they picked up a bunch of other stuff, and there doesn't fit within their formulas. So they're thinking either they got to figure out if there's something they need to change with our understanding of physics, or if there's this other particle that they're picking up that we haven't discovered yet. Things like that. So it was an interesting read.
No, just hold on. I'm reading it, and there are so many things here that could be characters in Stargate, like the Xenon 1T. Chevron, you could have another alt.
Okay.
I think so. Artemis and I were actually watching Stargate last night. We're on season 5. We just started the 3rd disc, so we're getting close to that 100th episode, which I love when they do Wormhole Extreme. I can't wait for Artemis to see that one.
I like that episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying. I mean, like it's a little formidable if you think about how many seasons are in this series, and then the next series, and then all the movies. So I don't think if it were for you, I would have gotten into it because there's so much to watch out there. But I'm really glad that you've been playing these things because I'm totally hooked on this.
Okay, tweeted that. This is fun because I read daily newsletters and tweet stuff, and you guys are bringing up science articles that don't show up in the science newsletter I look at. So yay. So my Monday tweet bump should be really good.
Nice. So, with that, we've got the state of the viewer. So the current staging viewer is 2B50. It's actually been pushed to preview, so you can actually install it with the installer now if you select preview on the installation. So it's kind of a bummer. I don't think they managed to switch us over to the 2018 or 2B viewers last week like they were anticipating, but fingers crossed maybe this week. I know there's still some people that are having problems, like critical problems with 2B viewers, so if anybody here is having problems with 2B, definitely get in touch with staff. I think talking with them directly rather than doing an issue ticket is probably going to be better at this point. It's because I think they're totally buried on the issue tracker, so.
So I love all. I don't know if you've been seeing Alicia's movie that that AI teaching itself. Anyways, I think it'd be really interesting if next time we had like suggestions from everyone for movies or any kind of media, bands, books, like their top five, because that would be like an amazing list to read through of all these things that we could get into. I would totally geek out over researching all that.
So top five movies or books, is that what you said?
Just recommendations for all this kind of like these great movies that are coming up and books that everyone's putting into chat. I would love afterwards just researching it all and like checking out some new stuff.
I'll put that in the stuff to share next week.
One minute news item that's catching my interest, the Apple Worldwide Developer Conference is officially completely online and starts today. And I'm not planning to watch it. However, I have a link to how to watch it if anybody wants that. I'm trying to figure out what they're doing, if they're just zooming everything or it's a live stream. And I'm not even sure what it's on. But that is a sign of the times, obviously.
There's a lot
Of course,
of things happening online these days, and I'm kind of I hope that some of this stuff does carry over because I like how accessible everyone is putting things online and everyone's having these webinars because I'm supposed to be in a webinar that's related to my future career that starts today. It goes all week long and all these amazing speakers you hardly ever get to hear online. Usually it's only in person at the conventions. And so there's some good stuff, bad stuff coming out of it. But the interactivity is definitely one thing I hope continues.
It's been nice for me in my real life business where I do a construction company, and getting permits has been it's been a huge mess for years and years and years, and been waiting for all these different jurisdictions to finally develop their web portal to like actually submit for permits online. And this whole pandemic thing has forced them to actually get their acts together and get it done. So instead of having to drive an hour and a half up to a permit center to submit for permit, and then drive back and all this stuff. Now I can just do it online.
And you see this trickle down to even the smallest businesses. Like, we live in this really tiny town, and even the local diners down there on Main Street, like, they've never been online before, and now they're getting their act together, and you can order your menu, your dinner online or whatever. So people that have totally been hands off on technology are being forced to use it, and I like that.
Well, I've been having this conversation with another group. So the premise is this: if the event you're trying to get to is interesting enough, the technology becomes just about irrelevant. At worst, it's an annoyance. So, for example, this event I make a point of coming to, and Inquisitive Loon, despite his terrible computer problems, keeps gamely, chugging away to get here. So, and he's online again. So whatever we're doing here has grabbed his interest just enough that he refuses to be stalled by a combination of computer and internet and issues, whatever. And this has been happening to me at personal level because this week there's a thing called the Immersive Research Learning Network Conference, and they have had to go 100% online, just like Microsoft, Apple, and they've elected to use Urbella and AltSpace VR, and a lot of their presenters are using OpenSim Kitely. Kitely is kind of a branded version of OpenSim, Second Life, and Frame. And I was thinking of Frame when you talked about Core, but Frame is now out there. If you look at Frame, it's also owned by the people that own Urbella, but it lets you build stuff. So that's on people's radars. And what I'm noticing is people are going through all kinds of obnoxious downloading viewers, fiddling with viewers, trickling with viewers, just to get to the frickin' event. Just to get to the event. The event is what's of interest, and who's there and what they can talk about that they have shared interests in. So anyway, that's what I'm noticing a lot these past few weeks.
All right. Well, we got some trivia up next. I need some game music to introduce the trivia. Okay, so starting with 1980s video games. Okay, so the Nintendo Entertainment System, or NES, was originally known by what name? Drum roll.
Gosh. You can tell I'm not a console gamer.
Oh, at least you got it.
Oh,
It's
man.
Famicom, short for the Family Computer.
Wow.
It was interesting. What we consider consoles today, back then they were considering computers. So next up is the Lord of the Rings trivia. Legolas hails from what forest?
Oh. Yeah, that's it. I couldn't think of it fast enough. That's right.
Yep, that's right. It's Mirkwood. Congrats, Alicia. Right. So next up, we got some Star Trek original series trivia. What fertile, furry creature absolutely hated Klingons?
Tribbles.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
This was really interesting if you watch Discovery, Star Trek Discovery, to see where Tribbles came from. Like, I'm so glad they addressed that, because that was a really interesting episode. I don't want to give it away.
That was funny. And the guy that played the scientist that created the Tribble was the same guy that does Archer and Bob from Bob's Burgers and stuff like that. So, that really dry kind of humor. All right, so next up we've got some Captain Marvel trivia. Who created the Marvel incarnation of Captain Marvel?
I remember his name.
Yep, well, at least you got that one too. It's Stan Lee. All right, so in the Whedonverse, so all things created by Joss Whedon, who says, "Sorry to barge in, I'm afraid we have a slight apocalypse." This is one that I didn't know.
Sounds like it's from Buffy.
So it is from Buffy. Okay.
I don't know.
So we'll toss this one up there. Not so it's Rupert Giles, which I don't think I've watched enough Buffy to know. All right, so classic board games. What are the two types of cards you can draw in Monopoly? Yeah, it looks like Sidearm got it. That's the Chance and the Community Chest cards. Here's a Game of Thrones trivia. What was Catelyn Stark's maiden name?
Yeah. I watched it, but I was never like a super fan. Hmm.
Yep, Alicia got it. That's Tully. So, in Star Wars: A New Hope, what country stood in for Tatooine?
Tunisia?
Yeah, it's Tunisia.
It's weird to stick in my head.
Alright, let's see, two more. We got the 1950s sci-fi movies. John Carpenter's 1982 The Thing was a remake of what 1951 film?
Yeah.
The Thing, The Thing. It's part of the name. Yeah, Alicia got it. The Thing from Another World.
I was gonna say the thing from outer space because that seems thing for everything. The thing that came from outer space.
Yeah, A Thing from the Deep. So The Thing from Another World was based on the novella Who Goes There by John W. Campbell. Okay, so in physics, what is the highest attainable speed in the universe?
The speed of light,
Yep,
Yeah.
you got it.
which is approximately 300 million meters per second.
Yep, exactly.
Ooh.
I wish I knew other more useful things than this.
So we kind of already did a bit of show and tell. Was there anything anyone else is working on? It doesn't have to be science-based related. It could be real world or virtual. Any kind of show and tell anybody wants to throw out there?
Well, if you guys live closer to me, I would offer massage therapy services because when I start classes anyways, but that doesn't really apply to this group. But yeah, I'm always looking for guinea pigs to learn how to deal with different issues that you might bring to a chiropractor. As I want to be
I have
working
here's that 60-second music video in the chat if you want to take a quick 60 seconds.
Oh, is this the one that you were talking about earlier where you were able to
Yep.
hang on to their interest? Because this is like the Confuse
Yes.
the Cat episode from Monty Python's Holy Flying Circus. Have you seen that?
I have not.
So, you know what Monty Python's Flying Circus is, though, right? The British comedy group. And so they do these silly little scenarios where there's this cat, and you have to confuse the cat. And in doing so, they do all of these absolutely confusing and things, and you're basically watching this with your mouth open all the, and that's what I'm imagining is like the way you described it. It was so interesting where you were saying people were watching the whole thing because they didn't know what to think of it, and they were, I'm really interested in watching this now.
Well, you're invited to watch that at your leisure. I just pasted it in there for you.
So
And pretty
Artemis
much
hinted-
that's what I'm building. Music.
Nice. So Artemis mentioned earlier something we discovered last night with our Google Home. That we thought was pretty fun because we were just watching some Stargate, and I went to go say, hey, can't say it because it's going to be listening to me. Hey Google, hey, cancel that. Turn on or turn off the living room lights. That's going to do something.
Sure, turning 2 lights off.
Okay. Anyways, so we so we're just watching Stargate, and I was thinking Google, and then I was thinking Goa'uld, and I was like, oh my god, I wonder if it'll listen to me if I say, hey Goa'uld. Sure enough.
Yeah, it's not listening to you now, but hey, Goa'uld.
So
Oh, see, it listened to me.
yeah. Hey Goa'uld, what's the address for Earth?
On the website nature.com, they say, Earth's new address,
Okay, Google.
solar system.
Stop. So, anyways, we thought that was pretty fun. So we're thinking,
That's hilarious. That is hilarious.
So now we're thinking, well, we need to make some routines, like that do different things around the house. Like, what was the one that I said last night?
Well, I was thinking when was to open the Stargate, but you had something you were talking about, yeah.
Oh, that's what it was. Like Jaffa Cree,
Oh, that's awesome. I don't know what we would make that do, because that can mean so many things.
Yeah, right.
Can the gold hear our intonation so that we could say Jaffa Cree in so many different ways, and it would? Well, probably not. It's just the way what you're saying. It's just how you're saying it.
That's
Yeah,
Hey,
awesome.
gold. Hey, gold. What's the weather today?
In Rochester today, it'll be sunny with a forecasted high of 82 and a low of 55.
That's awesome.
It's currently 64 degrees and sunny.
Okay, gold. Go back to your chamber. And so somehow we want to figure out a way to get this out to the Stargate community, because I feel like every fan should know this. There's so many of these out there now.
We'll
I
just
think
do a short
Gate World
record.
has
Do a
the-
short recording.
Oh yeah, put it on. That's a good idea. Put it on YouTube. But then I think we also should post it on the Facebook page for Gate World, because you know, then it could be shared so much faster there with some hashtags or something.
yeah, it's true.
But we need to find out, like, we need to figure out the routines first and do the Jaffa Cree stuff and all that.
Yep. So we were kind of running out of time here, but maybe
I
I'll
feel
save
like
this
this
one.
is going to push aside my Star Trek routines. Because I don't know if you guys can hear this. Hey Google, shields down. It's thinking.
Affirmative.
Hey Google, shields up.
Working.
Yeah, so I got a quick little blurb here about we're looking to do a book club, and we were looking at doing the last Friday of every month at 7 p.m. Pacific time, so it's at 2 a.m. UTC. And at 10 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, 10 p.m. Eastern. Yeah.
So we were thinking about that. I did notice that Snowtracks has his country western event at that time though too. So I don't know. I didn't get a chance to talk to you, Artemis, this morning about that.
I would love to have an evening, something or rather, just kind of end the day with and chill and talk about cool stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, doing it not on the weekend would be good. Friday is like ideal, but Friday is totally populated. But I don't know that the same people are going to go to the book club that would go to the country western, especially since we're doing sci-fi fantasy books. So maybe it's okay. I don't know. Anyways, so we're thinking about doing this Friday, since it's the last Friday of the month, just to kind of plan out, just talk about the book that we're going to read, get an idea of how things are going to go. The book that we are planning to read is We Are Legion, We Are Bob.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying that too.
And there's a link to Goodreads.
How
it's a
long
great book.
Is it a very long book? Because I've tried book clubs before, and the trouble I've had is finishing the book on time. This isn't a very
I
long
don't
book,
think
is
you'd
it?
be required to read the whole thing if you only read half or just a portion of it. You could still discuss it. I think it says it's 383 pages. I'm looking at this page right now. It's not
Alright,
too long.
that's kind of average length.
Yeah. It's really interesting, though. It kind of reminds me of something we were talking about earlier today, where, I don't want to give everything away, but it's not a huge surprise where this is the book where he finally makes enough money to have his head frozen, because there's a technology where when you die, if they freeze your head, they can bring your consciousness back into a body in the future. And so the whole premise of the book is he's now the mind of a roaming interstellar ship. And that's really interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty entertaining read so far. I think I've read like 2 nights of it, and I don't have my Kindle in front of me, but I think I'm up to like 17% of the way through already. So I don't think it would be too hard to read it. The one book in a month.
Here's an interesting trivia too. The writer of this book says he's a retired computer programmer. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. So if anybody's interested, I think we're gonna shoot for this Friday at 7 just to talk about it and plan out. Get the link out there and get started on it. And then next month we'll talk about it and get the second one lined up.
Couple thoughts on that. Have you considered making a local host event group that we can all join, and then when you ping for the meeting like that, the people that are interested can come, or you could ping it on the event group channel, but I'm not sure how many people use that. So that's a thought. And
yeah, I do plan on making an in-world group. What I wanted to do first was build some kind of interactive object down there by the front door that people can just click on to join, instead of me having to send invitations to people individually and things like that, because you don't know if they're...
Well, that's a good point. However, we're all here, and you could invite us. The ones that are here are probably the ones you want to invite, and then you could code that fancy thing. You sound like Joshua there I think you're channeling Joshua. Wow, I could build something cool that'll take interactive questions. I don't need to use no Slido.com, Anyway, the second thing is I would agree with you that the target demographic for Snow Tracks is different. He's got people that come there that I never see at any other event at any other time. So they seem to have a strong community. And I usually go there because I like his builds and I'm trying to learn stuff. But to be honest, he doesn't talk to you at the events. They just play their games. And the best fun I had is driving around in the Jeep. This time, Carson and I drove around. We took turns driving. And I think we tried to get to the top of Mount McKinley, but I'm not sure did we make it, Carson? I couldn't tell.
I think so.
Yeah. So anyway, I claimed that we did, and Snow Tracks posted a picture of us. It was number 8 in a stream of 15 on the Facebook page. You'd have to go through them to see it. But I enjoy doing that. I enjoy driving around his regions. They're really intricate and challenging in Stark Tech Jeep. But nobody else wanted to do that, so I don't see a conflict. And then the third question is, are you going to just get Dixie to put it on the event calendar so that people can find it and show up? And since it'll be here, they can direct teleport from the community.
Yeah, I do plan on pinging Dixie later. Gonna see if we can get that on the main calendar. I posting the events for local hosts simultaneously on Discord as well as on the actual forum on the Science Waste website. I did that this morning. The group thing, you definitely can make that. I think the problem with the group is that it's not very user friendly, and I don't want to be walking everybody through it right now. So I can make it, and I think people can search for it and join it. There's no way to send invites and stuff like that. But if we have the thing down there where people just click it and join, I think that would be good.
I'm rethinking it. I'm rethinking it. I was thinking if you're doing impromptu things, like let's have a field trip to the dinosaur museum or something, But you could do that just as easily on the event or the global channel, I guess. I mean, is there a rule against that? I don't know. But if you're
Yeah, well,
doing geeky, interesting things and you want to do impromptu things, then like on the spur of the moment, anyway, that's the idea.
yeah, no, I think it's a good idea. And, so far we haven't really been doing impromptu things, but yeah, I do agree that it would be good for, hey, if anybody's online, come join us, blah, blah, blah.
So I'm looking at the groups right now, and if you look at community and then go to the groups tab, there isn't a search function, but the search function at the top of the client has a group as part of the refined search. It's
Yeah.
weird they wouldn't put that on the group tab, though. That would be a lot more handy and more.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's on the to-do. Something to add to the show and tell. I also did some work on the Jeep on Friday. So hopefully I can get an updated version pushed into live this week. That would be nice. So, the last thing I had before a field trip, if anybody wants to do a field trip, some 3 truths and a lie. Share 4 facts about yourself, 3 true and 1
Oh,
false.
jeez.
We all have to guess which one is false. I have to think about that for a second for myself.
I think I'll start typing this out because I'm gonna lose my facts in my.
Actually, I do have to go, guys. The conference is in progress. So, bye. And I did check out the build. I liked it, the railroad. So have fun there. Bye.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
I also have to get back to work probably. So
Maybe we'll
let's-
save this for next time.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah,
can't
we'll
get
save
away
this.
from this question.
All right. Well, it's nice seeing everybody here.
Yeah.
Hope you all have a good rest of the day and take care.
All right. See you next
Bye,
time.
guys.
And if anybody wants to join us over at the Great Northern Railway, I can type up in the search Great Northern, and I think it comes up as #1. Yes, it does. So we can teleport over there, and I'll teleport our camera guy to you, I think. I'll try that.
I got you to hold my hand.
There's the Jeep. Chase down the train.
Mother told me always to follow the golden rule, and she said it's really a sin to be mean and cruel. So remember, if you're untrue, angels up in heaven are looking at you.
Oh no, I'm stuck on the tracks.
To heaven if you break my heart. So be very careful not to make us part. You won't get to heaven if you break my heart. Oh no. I've been hearing rumors about how you play around. Though I don't believe what I hear, still it gets me down. If you ever should say goodbye, it would be so awful. The angels would cry. You'll never get to heaven if you break my heart. So be very careful not to make us part. You won't get to heaven if you break my heart. Oh no. If you break my heart, if you break my heart, I can hardly wait for the day when we say I do. It's a day I dreamed of so long, now it's coming true. You will promise to cherish me. If you break your promise, the angels will see. You'll never get to heaven if you break my heart. So be very careful not to make us part. You won't get to heaven if you break my heart. Oh no. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la.
This is Good Time